Good morning, my wild and beautiful friends. I'm so glad you're here. Today we're talking deviled eggs out of tofu. It's going to be a little bit of an experiment, but I can't wait to take you along with me. Keep on watching to see how we do it. Okay, we're going to start with our egg whites first and get those set up while we make our egg yolk mixture. So I've got a cup of almond milk here. I don't tend to love almond milk, but almond milk is definitely more of a white color than soy or oat, so I've decided to use this. I'm going to throw it into a saucepan here. It's just on a low setting. And to that saucepan, I'm going to add two very important ingredients. I've got agar powder and namik, which is also called black salt. You can find it online. It is very sulfury. It makes things taste very egg-like. So I had to do this a few times. I ended up with the ratio of 1 cup of almond milk to 3 teaspoons of agar and 1/4 of a teaspoon of black salt. We're just stirring that in with either a whisk or swirling it around like I'm doing here. So as I was researching this recipe, I found a lot of places saying that you need to bring your almond milk or dairy-free milk to a boil. I found if I did that, it would separate and give me these little white bits. So I just let it simmer for about 3 minutes and get everything dissolved, and then I took it off the heat. Kept swirling it. As you can see, it's steaming a little bit, but not at a super high boil. Then I'm just going to dump this into a pourable container here, and we're going to get them into our little eggy molds. This cute little silicone mold has proven to be quite handy. I've used it for quite a few recipes. I've had it for a few years now. It's kind of like a half egg. I just rinsed it out, so I'm trying to dry it up a little bit. It's like a half egg shape. I am being sure to put it on a hard surface that I can pick up, like this cutting board, because it gets a little floppy once the liquid's in there and you try to pick it up. So learn from my mistakes, folks. Then I'm just going to take this agar almond milk calonamic mixture and pour it evenly, or distribute it evenly throughout all of our little eggy molds. This 1 cup pretty much fills this 8 egg container perfectly. I'm hoping I'm zoomed in close enough so you can see there's bits of bubbles going on here, and they kind of just rest on the top. If you don't pop the bubbles or scoop them out, they will become part of that congealed mixture. So once I've got all of our almond milk in here, I'm going to go ahead and try to scrape off some of those bubbles. And you can get crazy meticulous here or not even worry about it. It doesn't obviously affect the flavor, but if you want it to look like a solid egg white, having little popped bubbles on top doesn't quite go with it. But a lot of the egg yolk mixture will be used to cover it up too. So you do you, whatever you feel like taking the time to do. So I got most of them. Some of them hopefully will pop a little bit, and the others we're just going to deal with it and hopefully hide them with our egg yolk. So I'm going to throw this into our refrigerator for at least a half an hour and let them ferment up. And while those are firming up, I'm going to get started on our super simple egg yolk deviled egg mixture. So to start, I've got 7 ounces of firm tofu that I'm just crumbling into my blender here. You can definitely use a food processor as well. There are a couple key ingredients that make this especially eggy, but aside from that, you're pretty much just going to use anything that you would normally put into a deviled egg. I will, of course, type down below what I use, but I pretty much use what I remember from childhood. I used to love being in charge of making deviled eggs, and I would always add a ton of paprika, which I didn't quite realize would make things a little interesting when we're using tofu. I'll get to that in a second. First of all, my phone died, and it didn't record what I put in this. So the 2 ingredients that make it especially eggy are apple cider vinegar and more of that black salt, the calonamic. So I added those, and then I went in and added some turmeric to make it yolky colored. I also threw in some black pepper, and then I went to town on that paprika because I remember loving it so much in deviled eggs. I didn't quite think it through. First, before I show you my mistake, I did add 1/4 cup of vegan mayonnaise as well, just to pretty much, if you've ever made deviled eggs, it's pretty much what you would put in a deviled egg. Then I remembered that if you add a whole bunch of paprika to white tofu, because it's not egg yolks, it's going to turn everything orange. So instead of throwing that batch away, I just added another 7 ounces of tofu, some yellow mustard, and a bit more mayonnaise, and it turned out perfect. So I will definitely type below what I used and the right measurements. This gave us a whole lot of egg yolk, so way more than we need for our egg whites. But I'm finding that there are some wonderful ways to use this as a dip or even as a way to make a vegan egg salad sandwich with chickpeas. So I'll let you know about that at the end as well. I'm going to take some of our giant amount of egg yolk that we've prepared here and put it into a piping bag. You can also use a Ziploc if you don't have a piping bag. So I'm just going to fill this bag on up and stick it into a glass once I've twisted it shut so I don't make a giant mess everywhere, because I tend to do that with most recipes that I make. And we're going to load the rest of this egg yolk mixture into a dish so we can make awesome recipes later this week. Okay, it's been about 45 minutes. Our egg whites have firmed up. We've got a little bit of bubble action on here, but I think it'll work. I found the easiest way to get things out of this silicone mold is to kind of pull around the edges, and they tend to just wiggle on out that way. Talk about a very, very interesting Jell-O jiggler here. Ooh, that one popped out pretty good. So I'm going to pop these out. I've noticed that the edges kind of, just from being sloshed a bit, have a bit of a ridge on them. I'm hoping I can zoom in enough for you to see. Careful if you can see that one kind of split really easily. So it's a little easier to go around the edges. I got a little excited. But all I'm going to do to kind of clean these edges up and make it so it looks like a solid egg yolk and not something that we've put in a mold, I'm going to take a paper towel and just gently wipe around the edges. At first it kind of seems like it's going to catch, and sometimes it does, but once you get going, just keep going in the same direction if you can, and it kind of just wipes it right off. You can see those bubbles are a little prominent, but we're going to get rid of most of them with that egg yolk and with scooping out our little yolk hole. That's a technical term, by the way. Now, this next step is super optional, but I do think it makes it look a little bit more authentic, and it gives you more eggy flavor and texture, so I went for it. I'm using the small side of a melon baller here, and I'm just going to kind of scoop out where the yolk would go if this were a hard-boiled egg. Okay, I couldn't help myself. I had to buy this adorable Easter platter at TJ Maxx. They didn't have any egg ones, but you know what? Honestly, I don't eat eggs. And this I could use for other things. So they're going to kind of slip around a little bit, but it's going to look real cute. So I'm getting these on here, and then we will load them up with our egg yolks and top them off with some cute garnishes, and we'll have some beautiful vegan deviled eggs. Okay, we're snipping the end of our piping bag here, and hopefully you can see me doing it. I'm just kind of swirling it in. This is the worst angle of all time. I hope you're getting the gist of it. I'm sorry. Oh, here we go. Now you can see it a little bit better. Just filling up that hole and then going around the edge there. And all of those little egg whites. And now to make them a little cuter and a little bit more flavorful, I'm going to add a couple garnishes. I'm definitely going in with a little bit more paprika here. Super classic deviled egg look. This is kind of blowing my mind how accurate these look. They smell eggy. I'm very curious if they taste just as eggy. So after we do the paprika, you can stop here, but I had some chives in my fridge, so I thought I'd chop them up and toss them on top as well. Give them a little bit of greenery. This is crazy. These look amazing. And to be totally honest, they taste pretty darn good. The egg white isn't as much of an eggy flavor, but the egg yolk I'm totally using for different recipes. I can't wait to share with you an egg salad recipe with it. These are fun for the novelty, honestly. If you want to do something fun for the holiday, it's definitely worth checking out. This is a recipe I didn't really realize I'd feel so nostalgic about. Look at that squish. It's totally like egg white. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Well, stay tuned this week for some more recipes using that egg yolk. I think you're going to love it. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to talk to you soon. Cheers.